What's up, squirters? Is Bitcoin on the verge of a major move? We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin first on the weekly, then daily, 4-hour, and then we're going to jump into the 1-hour charts. We're going to be taking a look at the overall global cryptocurrency market health, and we're going to be taking a look as well at this article that crypto traders hold portfolios majority in altcoins over Bitcoin. Is that true for you? Do you guys hold majority of your position in altcoins as opposed to Bitcoin? This could be seen as a riskier thing, but we'll get into that in this video and more. What's going on, everyone? Tyler here with a Bitcoin update. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the button, and also remember to hit the other button, and we can just jump right into the video. So if we take a look at Bitcoin here on the weekly chart, you can see over the past 7 weeks, we have had green candles. Now, the first really beginning the week of February 18th, you could see the nice extension of the wick right there, followed by 4 consecutive very low price action weeks, actually 5, and then that massive one that we saw on April 2nd, and that's the candle you see here. And currently, we are in another one of those small candles. Granted, it's still green, but do we have potential to make a major move? So we're looking on the weekly now. Now I want to transition over to the daily chart. We want to zoom in here a little bit, get a little better picture here. You can see that Bitcoin's still very much so above that 50-day moving average. We can just take out the measuring tool and take a look real quick. About 23% above that moving average. Now, is it normal for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to pull back to that moving average? Absolutely. It's healthy, it's necessary. You can see that, even in a downtrend, it would be used as, resistance here. And then finally, you see resistance here, see it here. And finally, after breaking out of it, what do we have the opposite of that? We see support along it. But now for the past about 8 days, we have seen that we are very much overextended from this moving average. So is it inevitable that we pull back? Potentially, looking, again, this is on the daily chart, and we're going to get a little closer with the 4-hour as well as the 1-hour. But if you notice here on the RSI here, the stochastic RSI, you see the momentum kind of shifting downwards a little bit. Is it possible that we see somewhat of a continued trend in this sense where we continuously hit this 99, 98 on the stochastic RSI and pull back to increasing levels, ever since really January, or even, the very beginning of January, we've been seeing increasing higher lows on this stochastic movement oscillator here. So potentially if we see a pullback, we see it maybe go down to about 30, 29-ish before kind of reversing and continuing an uptrend potentially there. Again, this is on the daily, and there are a lot of things to take into account when you're doing TA. So is it possible that doesn't even happen and we just continue going up? I think that's possible as well. And what I mean by that, on the 4-hour, we can look at the stochastic on that, and you can see the momentum is clearly shifting upwards. So take that with a grain of salt as well, because all these indicators, you just want to try to mix and match and try to get a feel for the market with these type of things, but it's never, it's really hard to get a hold of all of this stuff. So on the 4-hour, since we switched to that, again, you can see the moving average here, still very much above the moving average here, not really touching that. Pretty interesting to see that. On the 4-hour, you can see that was, again, playing resistance and then support. Once it did break above that, so that's interesting to see. Jumping over to the 1-hour then as well, you can see the same thing. The moving average playing a line of support there after this major move. This is that major move on April 2nd right here. Quite a big move. And you can see even on the hourly, this is playing very strong support. And even now, me making this video at this time, the support on the moving average would be about $50 or so less, and this is on the hourly. That moving average on the daily, which I think many more people will be looking at, is all the way down at 42.60. So if Bitcoin pulled all the way back to that, that would be, a little over $1,000 decrease in Bitcoin's price. Now, do we see any indicators potentially pointing to that being the case? Again, if you look on the stochastic, that could potentially be the case there. The stochastic on the 4-hour, again, showing the opposite, showing some upward momentum oscillation there. If we take a look on the weekly, what is that saying? Well, the weekly looks like it's kind of topped out there. But, what usually happens when we top out? There have been plenty of times where we top out for a little bit. I mean, this, even just going back to November, you can see this topped out for about, November 28th to December 26th, an entire month. It was basically up here for an entire month. So we do potentially still have some time up here. But is there a major move coming in the sense that, are we going to see further upside for Bitcoin? I would argue I think it's possible. And one of the reasons I think that is just because, you know, if we zoom out, which I want to do it on the daily. I want to zoom out on the daily here, because this is something I pointed out in the last video, which again, whether or not it's accurate, I think it's up for debate, but it is something at least interesting to look at. It was that ever since November, I mean, even going before November of 2011, so that's already 8 years back, we've had this long-term uptrend that we've seen with Bitcoin, where it spent a lot of time here in 2011 to 2012 and even 13, and then from 2015 all the way up to the beginning of or even the middle of 2017, kind of hugged that before we got the huge rally of 2017, really starting in the middle of the year there. Now currently we're sitting below that, so you might be saying like, hey, you might want to adjust this to maybe account for that. However, that really wouldn't take into account what we saw through 2015, 16, and 17, playing support there. So what this would mean, if this would be accurate, is that the price might actually be in a place where it doesn't want to be, and it might want to be back above this in terms of long-term growth. Now, as I said in the last video, does that mean that we're going to instantly bounce, you know, up and we're going to get to 12,500 US dollars before the end of the year, even within the next 4 months? I think that could be a long shot, but when I say a major move, I definitely think that is one of the possibilities that we're looking at there, because, and that's just simply based on that. There are other indicators we're going to take a look at as well, but just simply based on this long term. I mean, this is probably the most macro view that I'm going to give in these videos, is this line here. This is on Bitstamp. It dates all the way back to really the end of 2011 there. And if we go take a look on the weekly, we can see that line as well. You can see still clearly we are very much so below that trend there. You can see both of these areas, at least 2/3 of the chart. So here and here, we're just hugging this trend line. So maybe about 50-60% of the entire last 8 years for Bitcoin's price. However, as of the last 6 months, you know, dating back to November of 2018, that has not been the case, and we've been below that. We've suffered a pretty large correction, actually, from the top of 2017's peak down to the bottom. It was a pretty drastic drop, you know. And if we want to, let's zoom in so we can get a better idea, and we'll go to the daily so we get more smaller time frames, hopefully better data there. Excuse me for a minute. So taking Bitcoin from 2,000 to its current bottom around 3,000, that's about an 85% decrease in Bitcoin's price, which is pretty massive, you know. Just want to take a look real quick before we get into some more to see what the last bear market dipped from its all-time highs to its very lowest lows, again, around 85%. So that would be very similar. So does that indicate that we potentially have met the bottom of the bear market? I think so, and I think that's not even based on anything that I'm talking about in this video, but I personally think that we've seen the bottom. Does that mean that we won't come back to the bottom? No, it doesn't. I think we could come back to the bottom. Do I think we will? I think we'll find out extremely, extremely soon because of this current situation that we're in. Again, this is a long-term pattern from December to really the beginning of April. So about 5 months we were in this ascending wedge, or ascending triangle. We were in the descending triangle of basically all of 2018. So we have about 12 months in this descending triangle and about almost 6 months in this ascending one. So these are two very clear patterns that now are easily to recognize after, you know, living through them. But what pattern are we forming here? What do we have going on here? Are we just going to return back to this? I mean, that usually is not what happens in these types of patterns. You know, we're not going to return back to this triangle. It's already been broken. We're moving on to the next stage. Guys, we've moved on, and we're on to something. We're on to something else now. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens here. Currently, I do think, and don't quote me on this, but I do think it is time within the next week or so that we get a little bit of a retracement, some consolidation, because we've really had, again, if we look on the weekly, we can get a nice picture of this. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're on our 8th green weekly candle. So 8 green weekly candles in a row, which we have not seen. We have not seen that since, we didn't even have that necessarily back during the bull market. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, a red candle there, one red candle there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we had 8 back in the middle of 2017 before a nice pullback. Now, these candles aren't necessarily huge, and I think there's a lot going on in the market psychologically. So I do also think it's possible we move up, but I'm just throwing this out there that I think we're getting a little overextended, and we probably will have to see some sort of pullback soon. Again, that's to say as well, you see this moving average right here. You can see that plays a big role, obviously. Back in 2017, it was kind of just cutting through the center of here, getting pulled back a little bit. Again, this is the weekly, and right now that seems to be where we're facing some resistance there, and I think that's important to keep an eye on. During the last bull market, we were up much above this the entire time, and when we did finally break above it in November of 2015, you can see it was kind of clear sailing all the way until doomsday of 2018. So when we see a break from this, I think that'll be a really good indicator that something, good is coming. Now, with that being said, breaking that is very close to now, only like $100 or so. Currently, it looks as though we're trying to find support there, right? But if we actually can break it and get above that, that could be extremely, extremely bullish and healthy. And again, TA can be defied in crypto. Crypto doesn't necessarily obey TA laws all of the time. And that goes without saying. I think that's, one of the most obvious things I've ever said. Now, alongside the moving average here as well, we get some critical levels in terms of past resistances and support, getting to 55, and then the most important, hugest one is 6,000. Hugest, I'm not sure if that's a word. This is right around the 6,000 area, right around here. So, we're not very far off from that. Percentage-wise, let's see how far away from 6,000, about 17%. One day you look on CoinMarketCap and you see another 16, 17%. That could be the day we're testing 6,000. We see days like that. We see days where Bitcoin is up 10, 15, 20%, even in a bear market. We saw days like it back here. Specifically, April 2nd was a huge day. It was the last time we saw that. But again, we see them every once in a while in smaller scales. February 18th from 36 to pretty much $4,000 in a day. Even back here, 3,300 all the way up to 3,700, so a $400 gain there. We have 3,700 all the way up to 4,000, almost 200, it's almost $500 there. So we do see candles like that. They're not super rare, but in the situation we're currently in, if we would see one like that, I think that would be a pretty remarkable sight to see there. So that's what we're looking at for Bitcoin there. We just want to take a look over at the CoinMarketCap. We can just see, again, things holding steady. We're getting these small percentage gains. Yesterday, there's about a 1% down. Today, about 1% up. So kind of still evening out. You can see in this chart, tilting towards the upside a little bit. Now I want to look at this article really quickly. Risk takers, 47% of crypto traders hold their portfolio's majority in altcoins over Bitcoin. So according to a recent poll on Twitter published by Felix Mullen, the majority of crypto traders have the predominant share of their portfolio stacked into altcoins, not into Bitcoin. Perhaps that's somewhat understandable at the current period, as 2019's altcoin season is seemingly blossoming, but how safe is that? So before we kind of look at this a little more, maybe just leave a comment below. Do you guys have a lot of your portfolio in altcoins? Do you think it's smarter to throw it into Bitcoin? When things start getting crazy, what do? Do you switch that up? Or when things start getting kind of crazy in the opposite way, when we start seeing days where things start going down, do you throw it into Bitcoin or do you leave it in altcoins? The reason I think that's important is because altcoins are a little riskier. So if you have money in altcoins, you're most likely going to lose a little more value than you would traditionally than if you kept it in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's seen as a little safer. Again, taking a look at CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin accounts for over half of the entire market. You see all of these cryptocurrencies on this screen here. Bitcoin accounts for the value of all of them combined, more than all of them combined, more than all of them combined. So Bitcoin accounts for more value than every single other cryptocurrency combined. Again, it's very close. So those other, roughly 2,160 other cryptocurrencies account for about 49% of the market, Bitcoin about 51%. That does vary depending on the week. If we just want to take a look at the dominance, you can see, because this is an interesting chart to look at actually, because Bitcoin dominance used to be much, much, much higher, 85%, 90% even. And then what 2017 brought us was a massive 2017 was really the year of altcoins, the year of Ethereum for sure, but many other altcoins definitely. Now, many people do expect this trend to continue. I'm one of them. I expect that to continue. But before that continues, maybe drawing off the chart a little bit, somewhere in that area of the chart where we can't see in the future there, is it possible Bitcoin has another spike up in value before that? I do think that's possible as well. I mean, we see that a little bit, over time. It's kind of like a very nice flow to it. 78% bottomed out and then all the way back up to 91%. Down, 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 80, 79%, all the way back up to 85. And then from 86 even to 38%, the first time in Bitcoin's history that it was under 50% of the entire value of cryptocurrency market cap. So I do expect altcoins to continue to take dominance away from Bitcoin, but I also think Bitcoin could kind of have a lot left to show, and Bitcoin could kind of pull some of that market cap back going forward. In 2017, we saw Bitcoin get all the way back to 60, and we haven't seen that since 2017. We didn't see that in 2018. The highest it got in 2018 in terms of market dominance was only 56%, and it's kind of been going down since then. Although it did have a nice resurgence kind of in the middle of 2018. So, do you guys keep most of your crypto in altcoins or Bitcoin? And does the state of the market affect that? Do you guys throw more into altcoins when the price goes up? Or do you throw more into Bitcoin when the price goes up? Or vice versa? So a recent poll on Twitter revealed that almost half of the participants invest the majority of their crypto portfolio in altcoins rather than Bitcoin. Again, I think this is a trend that's going to continue because altcoins are gaining more and more momentum. 2017 was the year of altcoins, and it brought a lot of new attention to the space, and I think that's going to continue as well. I think it's good for the market. And I think that's kind of what cryptocurrency aims for, not a monopoly in terms of one cryptocurrency, but a nice spread. So the risk is indeed huge. Altcoins provide notable and relatively quick gains. They're also comparatively riskier. The notion of big returns has been brought up plenty of times, but there are important investment principles to be considered. Just because it's crypto, it doesn't mean one should gamble, betting on volatile altcoins in search for high yields. So you need a proper combination, this article says, and I think that's a really good statement there. So let me know what you guys think. Jumping over to the Reddit, for this actual post, somebody had stated, "We're here for the technology, not the quick buck." That's absolutely true, guys. We are here for the technology. We don't care about making a dime in this market. We are here for the tech. That's why we buy it. We don't need to make money. That's why I never give financial advice. Nobody that does crypto videos ever gives financial advice. We're here for the tech, the beautiful tech, and that's really all it comes down to. ZenSource says, a couple of weeks ago, I was at a crypto conference. They did a poll and asked people to put their hands up if they didn't own Bitcoin. Of the 200 people, myself and one other person put their hands up. The other guy didn't have any crypto, and I was the only one all in on other coins besides Bitcoin. So most people do have Bitcoin. Do I have Bitcoin? Find out on the next episode. But, I would love to hear what you guys think. This is going to be a video titled Bitcoin, so I'm assuming most of you guys probably own Bitcoin. But the thing is, a lot of people look to Bitcoin content and Bitcoin articles, Bitcoin videos, because Bitcoin leads the market. So even if you are, for example, invested in XRP and you hold no Bitcoin, Bitcoin videos might still be of interest to you because it kind of gives you a nice feel for the entire market. And people have come to accept that and realize that Bitcoin is still the leader in the market and it's important to keep an eye on. So guys, thank you for watching. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the button and hit that other button. Thanks for joining me, and I'll be back with another update.